All right, tonight we're going to do simple roasted halibut with Mediterranean vegetables. To get started, I get a pot of cold water. I'm going to start with the potatoes. These are in the, this recipe will be following the recipe that I shared with you yesterday. So I'm going to take my potatoes, cut them in half, and get these into the pot of cold water. You always start cooking your potatoes in cold water. They'll help them cook more evenly all the way through. We're also only going to do kind of like a par cook on these potatoes, so they're going to maybe 50 to 60% of the way cooked through. This is just going to help them catch up with the rest of the other vegetables that we are going to roast. So I'm going to put that on the stove, bring that up to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, turn it down to a simmer and just let it go for about 5 minutes and then take them off. The next step, I'm going to take probably about half of this eggplant. It's a fairly large eggplant. I mean, you can change the ratio on this recipe for how much vegetables you want to cook. If you want to do, more for more people, you can. Easily adjustable, just double everything, or if you don't like a vegetable, choose something else, make it your own. First, I'm just going to slice in some thick slices, about half that eggplant, before I dice it. What I want to do is I want to pre-salt it, let it sit for about half an hour, 10 minutes minimum. Heavily salt it with kosher salt on both sides. I've showed you this before. This will help leach out any bitterness that might be in the eggplant, take out some of that moisture, and it also helps a lot with the texture of it when you roast it. Okay, so then set that aside, pat that dry later. Next up, take a whole zucchini. Make sure you wash it. They have a tendency to be real sandy. Cut it in half. It's a fairly large one, so I'm just going to do kind of like a rough half-inch cube. Doesn't have to be a perfect cube, but the idea here is to get it around the same size for cooking, okay? It also looks nice. Set those aside. Next up, going to seed and cut a couple of peppers here. I've got one red and one yellow. Set those peppers aside too. That can go in with the zucchini as well. Okay, I said cut into sixes. I did more like eights there. Just depends on the size of the pepper. Once again, try to keep them all around the same size. Don't waste. Use the tops and bottoms. Okay. Next up, I'm adding to this recipe. It's not in there, but I had some Brussels sprouts and I really wanted to use them, so I'm just going to take a couple of these and take the bottoms off. Half them. I love roasting Brussels sprouts. It's they have a far nicer texture than just boiling them. And these can join the rest of our vegetables there, the peppers and the zucchini. Next up is a red onion. Just going to peel and cut probably into eighths, depending on the size of your onion. Like so. These can also make their way into the vegetable mixture. Just got everything kind of in one spot. I did want to demonstrate one more time just the technique for zesting and then juicing a lemon. In this recipe today, I'm actually going to combine the two in one one mixing bowl, so it's okay to kind of put everything into the same thing. So like I was saying before, a lot of people I'll find will just go like back and forth like this, and that is not great because you're going to start to get some of that white pith, and the white pith is what's bitter. So whenever you're doing this, the technique is to grab it and then follow the contour of the fruit that you're zesting. That's where all that flavor is. It's all in that essential oils in that first layer of the zest. And that way you're leaving the white there, okay? Also, it can be handy to have a strainer kicking around. Then this way you don't have to worry about missing any seeds if you don't catch them in your hand when you juice it. You can just juice straight with your hands there, or you can, if you have access to what we call a reamer, just a handheld wooden device here to help get that juice out. So I'm just going to set this aside here, and we'll go over some other ingredients that I have ready to go. Already minced up some garlic, okay, but 2 cloves there. Got a mixture of some Kalamata olives and some standard manzanilla olives. Up here so you can see. We have our lemon juice and zest. Got some dried oregano. I'm also going to do a little bit of smoked paprika on my fish, just because I want to. It's not in the recipe, but you can go ahead and you can add this if you'd like. It's a real nice touch. I've got some fresh rosemary, good olive oil, and then 2 5-ounce fillets of halibut. I've already gave them a nice rinse and patted them super dry, ready to rock. Okay. So just looking back, checking on my potatoes, I've just they come to a boil now, so I've turned them down to a simmer. And looking at the eggplant now, if you look really closely, you can see how it's sweating, and that is the salt pulling out the moisture from the eggplant. At this point, it's been about 10 minutes. Just going to go ahead, pat them dry with a paper towel, and you can see all the moisture that comes up. You also see some brown. The reason why you oversalt it is because you really want to get a lot of that moisture out. And as you can see, when you pat it dry, you're removing a lot of that salt anyways. However, pay attention when you are seasoning your dish later on. You are tasting things that you don't want to oversalt. Especially because we're using olives as well. They also have the salty element. Always pay attention to those other ingredients that you're using in a dish when you are seasoning, okay? And then I'm just going to dice these up into equal 1/2-inch cubes. Potatoes are almost done, so in the meantime, I'm going to take 1 sprig of this rosemary. I'm going to change this up a little bit too. This is the great thing about cooking. You can change things on the fly. You can do things differently. I'm going to use 1 of these to kind of garnish on top of the fish when I bake. And just to get if you want to get more aromatic out of your herbs when you do this, like take the side of your knife and you give it a little slam, and you should smell those essential oils come out of it. So I'm going to set those aside for after. The other little bit here I'm going to just mince up. I'm going to season the vegetables with this. Alright, at this point I've realized that I need a much larger bowl for the amount of vegetables that I have here, so check that in there. And mix them all together. I've got the potatoes strained off. They don't have to be cool, it's okay, they can still be hot. Put them in there. Add in garlic. A little bit of dried oregano. Salt. Pepper. goodly amount of pepper. Olives. Rosemary. Olive oil. And then mix it with some love. Alright, so there's the veggies. Now, depending on the volume that you've done now, I like to eat lots of veggies. Okay, you know, great part of a whole foods diet. You know, there's a little potato in here, so some starch, but you know, nothing here is processed. So this is really good. Really healthy fats from the olive oil. Good flavor profile going on. Now, depending on the amount that I have, I think I need 2 of my little sheet pans here. So I'm going to divide this between 2 sheet pans of parchment. And one of the keys to roasting, especially vegetables, root vegetables, and potatoes, is to not overcrowd your pan. Okay, so you can see I have quite a bit more here. I'll pile it all up on there. I wouldn't get a nice even cook. I wouldn't get a lot of nice color on the vegetables. They would kind of be heaped on there. They would still cook, but you'd get like more of like a steaming effect and not quite as much of a nice even colored roasting effect. Okay, so we'll do the 2 sheet pans, and I'll probably do 1 piece of fish on each one after that. So lots of space, nice colors. Okay, fire these, spread it out a little bit. In your oven, 400 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes. While the vegetables are roasting, let's go ahead and get our fish ready. Okay, so now I've got the lemon juice and lemon zest are ready to go there. I'm going to reserve about half of it because I want to toss that into the vegetables after they're done. It's just going to drizzle, just going to add a little fresh lemon to it. Okay. I'm going to put the majority of it here with my fish. Also some olive oil, a little coating of olive oil. And I'm just going to spread that around. Nice, good coating. Salt. And wash my hands and then do the pepper. Food safety note: always make sure you wash your hands in between. Try not to touch, you know, raw product and then touch like this happens all the time. You see people who touch like a raw product and put their hands in their salt, and then yeah, now you've got fish and salt, and that's no good. Okay, so a little pepper. And I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of this smoked paprika on top. Rosemary on there, and I'm going to set this aside until we're ready for the next step, which is to fire this in the oven with the vegetables. Great, so my timer just went off for the roasted vegetables. Roasted vegetables, I let mine go for about 15 minutes. In that time, I had plenty of time to finish up any dishes I had kicking around. Kitchen's clean, ready to go. It's a nice and easy, quick meal to do up, okay? And you could even go so far as to do up some of these, cut all the vegetables in advance, have it done, so lots of time, to clean up the very limited mess that it is, kind of like the one pan wonder. Now, this is where, like, I wish I could say that just, cooking is always just about, following instructions and everything's going to work out the way that you want it to. It doesn't necessarily, okay? You usually have to, try by doing. So, look at the vegetables. Are they cooked? Feel the texture. Taste something. right away, I know I need more salt. I'm saying the vegetables are mostly 50% done. What I really want to check on is my potatoes. See, they're still quite a bit, they're still pretty firm, but luckily we still have more time here for them to go back in the oven. So first, I'm going to make a little space in the center of each pan for each halibut fillet. I'll just place them right in the middle there. A little drizzle of that lemon and olive oil. The remainder of that lemon that I had kicking, put that in there. More seasoning. And then most definitely I'm going to season this one more time before I put it back in the oven. Salt. Pepper. With these 5-ounce fillets, I'm going to aim for about 15 minutes back in that same oven at 400 degrees. All right, time to take this fish out of the oven. Looks gorgeous. So that was another about 13 minutes. All my vegetables are nice and cooked. We have one here too, so you can see that. Boom. And then, how's the fish done? Now, when you're looking at fish, generally the safe guideline is take it to 145 degrees internal temperature, or until it's nice and light and flaking apart and not opaque in the center. There you go. Okay, fish is done and safe. Remove those extra pieces of rosemary. You don't need those at all. If you don't feel like doing any dishes, well, eat it off the tray. You can do that, I guess. You go right ahead and you can plate that up all nice and enjoy that. Just a little bit more olive oil on it, whatever you'd like. Okay, there you go. Simple, one pan wonder, healthy whole food dinner with potatoes, lots of vegetables, and a great white fish with lots of healthy fats. Fantastic. Enjoy.